One of the biggest advantages a game in the roguelike genre has is being able to provide players not only the build diversity of a typical RPG, but the same highs and lows in the span of a single 11-minute romp. Dead Cells, Darkest Dungeons, Isaac, even something that isn't a roguelike like Super Meat Boy Forever, there's no end to good games using random generation these days. If you're gonna throw your hat in the ring, you best believe you gotta do something either really good or really different. Today's contender? Skul The Hero Slayer, a title I've already spent a fair amount of time with in early access. I have some pretty strong feelings on this one, even going as far as to refund it on Steam before ultimately buying it again later, so get comfy. Skul The Hero Slayer is yet another combat-focused action roguelike where dying is a very natural part of the game. Between sessions, you'll purchase permanent upgrades with purple orbs you collect from fallen enemies. The combat is pretty enjoyable. Throughout each run, you'll get access to different kinds of skulls, each one completely changing the way your character plays, from the action skills to the default attacks. Not only can you have two at a time, but switching between them activates a special transition attack. These are typically the most devastating. Pelting enemies with projectiles from afar only to catch them off guard as they swapped to a close-ranged moveset was definitely something I could get used to. It's a surprising amount of fun, and the fact that the movesets of these skulls can vary by rarity gives it that much more variety and differentiation to extend the game's playability. It doesn't take long though for it to become clear that not all skulls are created equal. Even if one doesn't suit your personal taste, you might be prompted to use it, not because of some interesting design decision that forces you outside of your comfort zone, but because it's fundamentally superior than the moveset you actually like. Activating slow motion with this skull, for instance, allowed me to get twice as far as I normally would at my current skill level. Can this be fixed in subsequent patches? Sure, but that doesn't change the fact that despite having an early access period spanning months, Hero Slayer's movesets are way less balanced than they should be at launch. Balance is not the only glaring issue here though that has me concerned. Concerned as in, wow, that was pretty obviously a bad decision. How did nobody catch that and change it? The level layouts and music are absolutely monotonous. There is not nearly enough swapping, remixing, or general differences in how the structure of these levels are placed between runs. Stage placement starts to repeat itself way earlier than it has any right to, which is a giant detriment to any game in this genre. Roguelikes are typically really difficult and really short. Naturally, the player is going to see the first area way more than any other in the game. Nailing an inviting aesthetic, song, and sense of discovery are pivotal to making the first step in every run not feel like a slog. Starting another playthrough of Skul, I didn't feel like I was transversing a roguelike each time. I felt like I was playing a normal 2D action game over and over and over. Look at Hades, another game in this genre. Hades goes far out of its way to make sure the player is not annoyed or bludgeoned over the head by the same quips of dialogue and layouts. It's why the first boss room has 3 different variants. The designers knew this would be the area you visited the most, so they took extra care to make it more varied than everything else. I would say that Skul's boss battles aren't the worst, but this one says Leroy Jenkins when he charges you, which is one of the most lowbrow video game reference things, right up there with the cake is a lie and your princess is in another castle. Not everything is bad personality-wise though. These maid enemies in the second area are my new obsession, and bouncing off of chairs to get around was humorous at the very least. The pixel art itself is more than serviceable. Retro-looking graphics like these are a dime a dozen these days, but what's on display here looks pretty good. The shading and pale but bright color palette are easy on the eyes, albeit somewhat awkward next to the really smooth UI text that's not pixelated. The story is existent. It's there. I don't know. There's a boy with a sword. I don't know. So, does Skul The Hero Slayer have what it takes to stand shoulder to shoulder with things like Dead Cells and Rogue Legacy? Well, you probably already know the answer. After dumping 15 plus hours into it across the early access version and the main release, no it doesn't. At least not yet. It's a disturbing trend, and I don't want to see it become the status quo, but we've already seen games like Diablo 3 and No Man's Sky go from bloated, shallow progression systems into the varied and sustainable games they are today. While I want developers to release with a 1.0 that's the best it can possibly be, it's also nice that they're able to fine-tune it to perfection. Perhaps something similar is in Skul The Hero Slayer's future. Here's a video of me taking a shot every time I die in Super Meat Boy Forever. YouTube's algorithm loves it when you both like and comment on a video, because it shows engagement. If you liked what you saw today, please do so. It really helps channels like this one grow. Thanks so much, and have a great night. Bye-bye.